Welcome to Little Home Projects. In this video I make a microphone pop filter with items I have around the house, and I put the whole thing together for under $2. I'm going to be making this pop filter out of this plastic coffee container and a pair of pantyhose. The pantyhose were 5 for $5. I bought them in the discount bin, so they were around $3.50. I only need one pair to get it done, so this is really cheap. I start by cutting the surface of the lid out. I want to make sure I leave any of the ridges on the lid behind. They're going to help keep the shape overall. And I just want to cut out the top flat bit. A nice, sharp knife will make this go a lot easier. Once I've cut this out, I can move on to the coffee container. I want to cut below any of the ridges on the top of the container as well as keeping this piece rigid. It'll also let the lid snap back on when we're done. I found the container to be much harder to cut than the lid. So what I ended up doing was doing a score across the surface before cutting deep. The score meant that I would cut a straight line, and then I could deepen that cut on the second pass. Don't rush this part and just work slowly. A slip could cut the container badly, or it could cut your fingers badly. With these two pieces cut, we have the main frame for our pop filter. If everything's in good shape, the lid should still snap back on top. Next we pull out our pantyhose. I went through and stretched it out a bit first to make it a little easier to work with. So I'm going to be using the legs for this. I cut the top of the leg, followed by the toe. For the quickest and simplest version of this, one layer is all you need. Throw it over top of the lid or the base and snap it back into place, and that'll get you a functioning pop filter right away. I took it a few steps further and decided to go with more layers. I cut off the excess material, and now I know how big I need it to be. After cutting another length, I fit it inside the previous piece of material. Now I've got 4 layers overall. I decided I wanted to use up the other leg as well. This will give me a total of 8 layers of fabric. Definitely going to be overkill, but I'm here, I might as well do it. After feeding the first one into the second one, I found that it was a little hard to get the 2 pairs inside each other. The solution for this was to put the 2 layers over my hand and then feed the second 2 layers over top of that. That made it go on really easily. I made sure they were all sitting evenly and then fed them over the plastic ring. I decided to go with the bottom half of the plastic ring because I thought the black plastic looked better than the red plastic, so I might as well hide the red. You can see here how the lid snaps on. I've just got these little dangly bits at the end here. I'm going to tie them off and cut them short. With this assembled, before I go any further, I wanted to do a couple tests to make sure this was going to be worth my time. I did a few audio recordings so you could hear and see the difference. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. I was really happy with the way that sound turned out, so I tied off the ends of the fabric and moved on to heating up my glue gun to mount this to my microphone. To mount it, I'm going to be using a piece of 14 gauge wire that I have around the house. This is just a piece of old electrical wire from a previous project. It's 14 gauge and it's solid core, so it bends and holds its shape pretty nicely. Any kind of soft wire here will do though. I pre-bent the wire to fit into the groove of the lid, put down some hot glue to hold it in place, pressed it in, and finished up by covering the whole thing with more hot glue. I did the same on the other side, formed it into the lid, and glued it in. Let that sit for a few minutes, just to make sure the glue cools and everything's going to stay together. Once that's set, I went ahead and chopped off the little ears of the fabric. The microphone that I use is the Blue Snowball Ice. The tripod just screws off, which makes it much easier to attach this pop filter. I don't want to make this a permanent connection, so I want to use the wire to attach it to the mount. Once I have a rough shape, I put a bunch of twists in this wire to make it nice and rigid. This twist ends up being nice and strong, and I can bend this to wherever I need it to be. I reattach the microphone, and now I can adjust the mount to hold the pop filter to exactly where I need it. In the end, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. The price was super cheap. The only expense was the pantyhose, and that was only $1 or $2. Everything else was just junk I had laying around the house. I like that I can move this filter to be any distance from the microphone, and it stays attached and I won't ever lose it. I also like the quality improvement on the recording. It makes a notable difference when I'm speaking really close to the microphone. And that finishes up my $2 pop filter. This whole project took me about 20 minutes to do. It took me longer to film it than it did to make it. I try to put new videos out once a week, so if you'd like to see more, hit the subscribe button. If you think this video has earned it, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching Little Home Projects. See you soon.